starter here. I am going to try to see if I can get this in the box. I started filming some days ago while I was sitting outside for a change, and it was good weather. And you could totally hear me, no problems. You could also hear the wind. Yeah, that was kind of annoying, so I decided I was going to try again. We'll see how it goes. I had already sort of thought I was going to start, and was wondering, there was something missing, but I couldn't quite grasp what it was. And then I suddenly realized probably the camera would be a good thing to have in front of me to get this thing done. So I am not all here, but we'll see how it goes. I do have coffee, one of my many Moomin mugs. So we'll put our trust in the coffee. Things are still a bit rough around here. I have started being more active with a few things. That was one of the things I wanted to show you in the previous recording. I'll probably, if I remember, I will try to add it on the tail end of the video so you can see part of my outdoors. There is also, sorry, a very important thing. I now have a new computer. So I should be able to get this edited. Thing is, I'm going to have to work with a new editing program. So this is also going to be rather interesting because my brain might not actually be up for it today. So today is Monday the 25th of June. Exactly 6 months to Christmas Day. Yesterday I was all bouncy and happy because it was exactly 6 months to Christmas Eve, which is what we celebrate. So are you ready for Christmas yet? Let's click the panic button. Yeah, there's still half a year, but if you have any things you're planning on making for Christmas to give as presents, now is probably a rather good time to start thinking about them and get cracking at them. So, Christmas is also sort of a recurrent theme in my current stitching. I have a number of finished objects. I have a naughty Santa. I have some hooray moments of finding things I have been pretty mad about not finding. I'm going to do a flip through. There will be some knitting finished objects at the tail end. I also have some plans, but we'll get to that. We will start with the finished things that I have stitched. So without further ado, actually. I can't quite tell how it is coming through, but this should see it. I finished my green arabesque. So, and all the ends are fastened. So now I have 2.5 of this. I have a project in mind, and I need to do a number of these, both the whole, then half versions and quarter versions, and I will be using up random bits of fabric I find, so I will also be doing them on different count fabrics, and yeah, this is going to be sort of partial finishes in between, and then at some point then I can have the fun thing of getting them all sewn together. Hooray! And I have not been remembering to tell you where I have that pattern from. Somebody asked on Instagram, and it is this magazine, which I think is Spanish, and it is from October 2002, so it's some years back. And let's cover that up. This is the page with the finished stuff, but that is the name of the magazine and the number, and if I remember I can put the ISSN number in the notes, in case you want to see if you might be able to find it anywhere. This magazine, I sometimes find it here in Denmark. Sometimes it's not just cross stitch, it's got crochet and it's got other sorts of embroidery. I don't think they've had knitting. I think there may have been some bobbin lace as well, but sort of mixed magazine. And then they also, every now and then, they have a special where it is just cross stitch. Actually, I think they also have specials where it's just crochet, and it's a magazine where, if I get the opportunity, I'll have a look at it, because they have an interesting assortment of stuff, large and small things, and quite a wide variety of styles. But anyway, that was the arabesque. Then I had actually wanted to start on the Sue Hillis Pirate Santa, but we still hadn't got the fabric and floss all sorted out. So instead I attacked another whip, which was my Mill Hill Renaissance Santa, the Venice bloke, and he is all done. I don't back them, I just accept their messy backs as they are, but he is now done. This means I have all three of them done and dusted. And he got christened Cristoforo. I still haven't decided on his name, and I'm also wibbling a bit about what his name will be. But on a more serious note, this means I no longer have any Mill Hill Santa kits for stitching. I still have one of the 3 wise men, so it's not full panic time yet. But I have started looking at some of the other series, trying to figure out which ones I would like to do next, and then also see if I can order them from somewhere here in Europe, because ordering from America will mean that I get hit by customs and extra tax and all that fun. So, and then I had a couple of days where my head wasn't in the best place. And a while ago I had seen someone on Instagram. She does cross stitching and paper crafting. She's a Dane. And thanks to one of her posts, I discovered that you could get dies which make perforated paper. So basically you take this thing, you put it on top of a sheet of cardstock, and then you have this handy little machine, well, not so little, but and some plates, and you put it in a sandwich in between and you wind it through, and hey presto, you can make your own perforated paper. I haven't got all the holes emptied yet. I have a tool to get them out, and I decided to have some fun with that. So I went looking through some of my many various books with all sorts of patterns, and I found this birdhouse. I still haven't quite figured out if I want to use it to make an ornament, or if I maybe want to just put it on a card, because I'm planning on making some flowers down here below. But if it's going to be an ornament, then they have to be in touch, because when I then cut out, well, they've got to be connected somehow. But if I'm using it as a card, then they don't necessarily have to be glued onto the post. So I still haven't quite figured out. And then I had a couple of days of really blur, and I found I've started going through my stash. I'll talk about that later. But I found lots of my random bits of floss. So I took a handful and just sat down and picked a color, stitched, picked another color, stitched some more, and so on and so forth. Not thinking about creating anything, just random painting with floss. And I will be using this, will be used, I do scrapbooking as well, and I will be using that on one of my layouts. So crossover multi-crafting, hooray! And then it was finally time for this guy. I can't remember how long I've had the pattern, and I've been keen to stitch him, and now finally it was time. I don't have the rest of the fabric that I chose, but oh my Bob, this fabric is no fun for me. I will hold up so you hopefully can see it, and so you hopefully also can see that it is made up of two different color thread. So the warp and the weft are two different colors, and they make a nice blend. This was actually the fabric I had originally planned on doing. One of the pictures I showed the kit for last year, one with lots of woodland creatures. Boy, is it brilliant that I never started on that, and I have actually found another piece of fabric that I preferred, because this is hell on my eyes. I had to use both my light and the magnifying glass to be able to stitch with it for the first couple of days. I just couldn't work on it just like regular fabric. It appears that once my eyes get used to it, then I can cope with it, but also here I'm not quite certain whether some of my problems may stem from the pattern or from the fabric, or if it's a combination. I have had to unpick so much. I have had to unpick on this guy. Okay, I can show you how far I have managed to get. Yes, he's looking pretty messy. I've had to unpick more on this guy than the previous many pieces that I've done put together and multiplied by 2 or 3. Seriously, arg. So he's been referred to as Naughty Santa. And for instance, this peg leg, it's 4 colors. 2 of them I have problems seeing on the fabric, and actually I'd say more than half of the stitches here are actually fractionals. Yep. I still want to get him done, but right now I just don't feel like working on him. He is a pig. I do want to stitch him again. Also, there is actually a mistake here which I discovered so late that I would really have had to frog several colors in order to be able to correct it. So I fudged, but I am painfully aware of where that mistake is. I have plans of trying to find a pale blue-gray piece of fabric, because I think that will work pretty good for a background to him as well. Because the fact that several of these colors blend pretty well in with the fabric is also not being very helpful. And I don't know, I have found there to be a lot of confetti in this, and I don't know if this is a Sue Hillis trait or not, or if maybe it is just simply that my brain gets so worn out with focusing on seeing where I'm supposed to put my stitches that it then blanks out on the pattern. So, ho hum. So, I have been stitching on something else, and this was actually something I had been looking for. I can't remember if I mentioned it in the previous video or if it's just been on Instagram where I have been wailing and whining and gnashing my teeth. But I had a number of whips, which I know I have, and which I have been unable to find. And I finally had some luck last week and found some of the things that I've been missing. So among the things that I've been missing was this, I hope I'm getting it without too much glare, which I started on last year. That has now been found. Hooray! I also managed to find this guy, who has been missing for quite a while. I actually found the paper for my Christmas placemats where I have the pictures. Also, incidentally, I had the patterns and I had the placemats, and it suddenly dawned upon me that the floss cards were missing. Yep. They have also now been found. And I have also discovered that this one is actually finished, and I'm halfway or in various stages through those two. And this is the one that I made and finished years ago. I still haven't found that, and I need to find it before I can fully finish all the rest of them, because I refuse to have a set of 4 placemats which aren't the same size. Can't do that. And before I can hem these other 3, I need to find the first one. And that is still hiding somewhere in the mess here at home. And then there was this thing, which I started last year, and I am fairly certain I showed it a couple of times in some of my early videos, but I found it. And Naughty Santa has been put into the naughty corner, and I've been ignoring him. I've been working on this. I took a picture, not the best quality, but never mind, and I will try to find it and insert it somewhere in this sequence so you can see what it looks like. And when did I pick it up? A week ago, possibly. Something like that. And this is where I'm at now. So, and this actually leads me on to a question, because I have been working on filling various gaps and holes here and there and everywhere. There are still some gaps because they need to be done in white. And I have been taught that white is the last color you put in, because it's obviously the most delicate color. But I have noticed that it doesn't seem to be the case that this is maybe a universal rule. So how do you guys do with white? Because to be honest, right now I'm a bit hampered in this area because there's a bit of white that needs doing, and if I could do the white, it would make it much easier to then carry on with the other colors. But there's always this thought of, no, white is for last. And I'm going to wash this afterwards anyway, so why? I have realized that there are some stitching rules that I have been brought up with, and maybe I need to start looking at some of them and figuring out, but do they make sense? And well, yes, of course, doing the white last because it's one of the most delicate colors, flosses, is, yeah, sensible. But really, I mean, I have relatively clean paws when I start working on it, and I am washing it afterwards, so why all the fuss? I have also been thinking that some of these stitching rules that I've been brought up with may reflect a different time and age and circumstances which no longer apply today. But I'm planning on trying to challenge some of these in my next few videos. So, fun question. White, is that meant to be done last, or do you do it whenever it fits into the sewing pattern, the cross stitch pattern, or something in between? But anyway, I am enjoying this. Yeah, it's Christmas and it's got animals, and you make some something Christmassy, you catch my attention. You stick a lot of animals on it, you catch my attention. You do something Christmassy with animals, ooh boy, am I paying attention. And it's a nice break from darn naughty Santa. It is done on 18 count ivory Aida, and I have no problems seeing anything on this. So I have been considering maybe telling myself to do maybe one strand of floss or one small area, or perhaps just 15 to 30 minutes of stitching on Santa every day, just a wee bit, so that I can make some small progress on it, and then I can put it away, and then I can work on this instead for the rest of the day. Because I don't want to risk Santa just being stuck in limbo for the rest of his life, for the rest of my life. Okay, so that is what I've managed to work on and finish, what I'm currently working on. And then we're going to head off into plans, both my own stitchy plans for the next couple of weeks, and then some plans regarding my birthday, which is still 3 months off, but hey. And there's the flip through, and there's the knitting. But I can see that my camera is beginning to overheat, so I'm going to give it a break, and then I will resume this a bit later. See you then. So, I am going to do a flip through now of this book. I showed it in my last video. It was a present from a friend. I will, if I remember, I will put the ISBN number in the notes, and it's a DMC publication, it appears to be, at least. And it is actually a petit, which should be tent stitch, but hey, that can be used just as well for cross stitching. So there are, I think it's 10 different patterns, and they are all on 2 spreads, but this is the first bunch of carrots, and I am not exactly sure if this is lettuce or cabbage. My French is not the best. The pattern it's a combination of colored squares with symbols in them. So you can opt to just go for using the symbol, or you can use the color if you happen to prefer that. Here are some onions. I would personally go for the symbols. I hate it when charts are in color. I think it makes it just heaps more complicated, but that's me. An artichoke. And some leeks. and I haven't actually counted the sizes of these eggplants. If I remember, I could do that and add it in, because I think they are all the same size. Tomatoes. And pepper. As far as I can tell, this book is also from 2002. So I have no idea how easy or how difficult it is to get your paws on it. I'm assuming that's a pumpkin of sort. And broccoli. So, and there are a number of these that I would like to do, and I might even be tempted in doing them in tent stitch, and maybe doing them 1/1, but that was Légumes au petit point. Yeah, French is not my thing. Then we come to plans. I intend to keep on with carrying on with this. I intend to try at least to work on Pirate Santa. Yeah. And then I think my next project are these placemats. Getting the last 2 motifs stitched and try to find that one placemat so I can then start hemming them, because that's going to take a hell of a time. Pardon my French. Yeah. But I think those are the likely suspects, candidates for my stitching in the foreseeable future. Which means, okay, a Santa is a new start. Sometime this past month. The rest are old whips. Well, one of them is from last year and the others are, I'm not quite sure how many years ago I started, but it's a few years ago since I started them, and then they've just been hanging around. And I have been trying to rustle up all my whips, and there is still one that I know which is somewhere. It's a biscorno. It's from a cross stitch magazine, Cross Stitch Gold. It's one of the UK based cross stitch magazines. And that should be somewhere floating around, but I haven't found it yet. But I want to try knock off a few more whips, but I actually, darn, I don't think I got that book. I have been making a list of what I actually have. And I realized that what with the progress I've been doing this year and what with what I did last year, while I still have a decent number of whips, I don't have quite as many as I have previously had, which is awesome. And of course, this automatically starts pressing all those buttons that says, ooh, new starts. Yeah. I still need to keep an eye on things and not just throw myself willy-nilly into some madness, which is something that I have actually been contemplating. A couple of weeks ago, I totally blame it on all the Stitch Mania videos, all the people doing all those new starts, and digging out my stash. By the way, I have been considering perhaps showing off my stash. It is mostly kits. I also do have some patterns. Then I have oodles of magazines and books. And I don't know if anyone would find it interesting to have a look through the stuff that I've been collecting. Most of my stash is, as I said, kits, and the vast majority of those are either Rosenstand or Clara Weber. When we moved to Denmark, we lived about 25-30 minutes drive from, well, I wouldn't exactly call it a needle workshop, but it was an Eva Rosenstand shop where they sold their kits. They also had fabric and floss, their own floss, and I think also maybe some DMC, but mostly their own flosses. And whenever my grandmother, my maternal grandparents came to visit us, there would be one day where Mum and Gran and me would head off to the shop, and they loved it when we came, not the least because we usually left a nice pile of money behind, but especially one of the women, sales women, loved the fact that it was 3 generations who came in, and all 3 were looking for kits. And a lot of my stash stems from those times. There would often be a bargain basket which I would go looking through. They also used to have all the irregular cuts of fabric. Every now and then they'd gather them together and roll them up and put them in a bag and just put some price on. They also would do that with the floss bundles for the various kits. So every now and then I'd splurge on one of those. But gradually my stash grew, and then there was a huge influx round about, I'm not exactly sure whether it was before or after 2000, but round about there, Eva Rosenstand closed all their shops. because they weren't selling enough. They couldn't afford to keep all the shops opened, and they had basically shut down all but one, and then that was going to close too. And Mum and I, yeah, yeah, we left a lot of money in our wake. So therefore, the vast majority of my stash is Eva Rosensten and Clara Weber kits. And I haven't seen too many of them around. I have seen a few on some Flosstube videos, but I don't know. So leave a comment saying if you think that would be cool or if you think that would be totally uncool. I have started looking more critically at my stash because also, I mean, this is over, well, not quite 40 years, but a 30-year period, and I can tell that in some senses my tastes have changed. So I have started pulling a couple of kits out and saying, maybe not. And I have, now this is not an Eva Rosensten, this is actually a DMC, and this is a relative new kit. But yeah, it's nice. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. But I have so many things already in my stash which I want to stitch before this. There are a whole lot of projects which are not yet in my stash, which I would love to stitch before this. Yeah, I am probably already at Sable with my cross stitch stuff. I am definitely at Sable with knitting. I am approaching it with various other hobbies. Okay, yeah, I really need to start thinning out in my various stashes. And I have a birthday coming up. And I know some people have previously done giveaways once it's their birthday. So if you're interested in this kit, keep an eye out, because at some point I will be doing a giveaway when we approach my birthday. But anyway, my birthday. I started getting this mad idea about, on my birthday, I was going to start and do a new start for every single year. And I can do it. And then I sort of started thinking, okay, 47 new starts. Yeah, it could be fun. But yeah, at some point, I think it would break me. And but on the other hand, I have a need to do something a bit wild. Right now, there's been crappy and there's been happy in 2018, and I think unfortunately the balance is probably much more on the crappy side. And I want to try and do something so that when I think back on 2018, instead of saying, oh yeah, that was the year where this, that and the other happened, oh, and then there were some good things as well, then it would be a lot more fun to say, 2018, that was when I did that incredibly crazy and wonderful thing. Oh yeah, and there was bit of bad stuff as well. It just seems much more positive. So I have a plan. It might still get adjusted. It is more manageable because it involves 4 whips and 7 new starts, and working over a period of 47 days. And wonderfully enough, if I start with 7 new starts and then I work on 4 whips and these 7 new starts, that's 11. I can get 3 rounds of doing all 11 projects, and then there's 7 days left over for those 7 new starts to get a 5th day of work on. And that seems much better. There is enough wildness in getting to do 7 new starts, but there is also this moderation of getting to work on 4 old whips. And I have actually started looking at what those whips would be and what those new starts would be. Nothing is set in stone yet, but there may be some birthday stitchy madness coming my way. And there was something else that I was going to say in connection with that, which right now has poofed out of my head. I think maybe it is time. My coffee is now gone, and I'm not sure what time it is, but it might be time for my 4 o'clock coffee to get those brain cells ticking. And my camera is once more telling me that, hey, I'm overheating over here. So I think I will take another pause, go and make some coffee. Hopefully I'll remember what I was wanting to tell you, and then hopefully get the last bit of this video done, so I then can start on the editing, which is going to be another barrel of fun. So, once more, see you in a little while. Okay, I'm going to try to get this done. I haven't remembered what it was I forgot. So that will have to be for next time. Oh, and I'll see if I can, yeah, someone decided that he needed cuddles, so yeah, I don't know if the microphone can pick up his purring, but in case there is this strange rumbling background sound, you know what it is. The last thing that I have for this video is not my last video, but the last one before that. That is, last year I had shown some knitted projects that I was working on, and I've never shown them actually done up, and somebody has actually asked about them, so I thought I would bring them on. So this is the cowl that I was making out of that gorgeous bit of yarn in the colorway Blue Tit, and most of the time I'll be wearing it with the cuff folded down, but that was finished. And then I was working on sort of a shawl come scarf in an Estonian yarn called Vivaldi, and it ended up looking like this. So I also remember showing that I had started knitting on a pair of socks in a colorway called the Milky Way. I'm not exactly sure that I have actually made any progress since I last showed them. So I'll probably have to frog part of it at least, because I can't be certain about getting the same gauge. And that's the sort of stuff that would annoy me, so yeah. I have actually, well, my knitting mojo has been elusive for a couple of months now. I did knit something a few months ago which needs seaming. Yeah, I haven't got around to that. I am incredibly bad at finishing things. You may have noticed that. Yeah, okay. My birthday celebration thingy. I had this plan about the 4 whips and 7 new starts. I also have a plan of setting myself the challenge of finishing 47 things before my next birthday. Yeah. So there are a number of these various knitting and crochet projects, as well as a number of cross stitch projects. So I have an idea that maybe that challenge might be good for me, and I will probably be, just because making myself a hashtag on Instagram, because frankly I can do with some cheering and encouragement, because that's going to be tough. It's not quite 1 finished object per week, but it's close to. And okay, I have an idea that some of the whips that I do in the cross stitch part of my birthday madness, they might end up getting done, so there's some finishes there. But yeah, so I will most likely be challenging myself yeah, to finishing 47 objects before I turn 48. That's going to be interesting. So, I actually remembered what it was I had wanted to say. And this means that, well, I don't have all that much more to tell you guys. Thank you for sticking around far enough to get to this part of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will come back next time I will try to remember to leave those various numbers, ISSN and ISBN numbers, in the notes. I will probably also try to put things such as my Instagram name and things like that. And I think I am going to be aiming for, instead of the 3 weeks that I have previously been aiming for, I'm just going to say, okay, we'll do it every 4th week. I'll try to get a video in 4 weeks' time. And hopefully there will be some finishes, more Christmas stuff. Hopefully Naughty Santa will be done and dusted by then. And I might even be able to show some of the projects that I am planning on putting into my birthday challenge. And if anybody wants to celebrate a 47th birthday with a madness, feel free to join in. Well, I think this is more or less it. If I can figure out the editing program without too much pain, then I will try to add in my first version of this video, one done a couple of days ago outside, because there were a couple of things that you might think were fun to watch. And I know I had, in days of yore, said I would be doing not the random Dutch facts, but random Danish and Finnish facts, and quite possibly just random Aero facts. And I do intend to do that, but not this time. Except possibly if I get that video bit in, then you get to see a tiny part. So anyway, thanks for hanging around, and take care of yourselves, and I'll see you hopefully in a month's time. Bye.